Whenever I'm feeling down or lonely or like I don't belong, I just remember that all of us, that all life on this planet, all came from one place. The Luca, or last universal common ancestor. Somewhere, hundreds of millions, or if not billions of years back, there was a singular bacterium that arguably started it all. A reason why every living thing ultimately shares similar genetic code. So ultimately, today I'm going to be talking about evolution for a bit, and that's fine because it's actually one of my favorite processes, things, whatever you want to call it. So because it's ultimately so fascinating. Now, evolution is often referred to as survival of the fittest, though I consider that term somewhat misleading as it has resulted in people thinking that these pressures favor the strongest, the fastest, or the smartest animals. And while that's certainly true in some cases, in most of the time, evolution isn't becoming stronger, but or smarter in an objective sense, but it's adapting to one's environment. And the term adapting is also a bit misleading because I'll put it this way: adaptation isn't guaranteed to occur, but is rather derived from genetic mutations, which can happen at random. That's why it often takes millions of years for evolution to occur, because the amount of mutations that are required to make noticeable changes to a variety of animal take quite a while to develop. Uh, it isn't even guaranteed that these animals will survive either, but rather that the mutations in these animals give them a better chance in their environment, a better success rate, a better chance to pass on their genes. There are probably millions, if not billions, of potential evolutionary paths that were ended simply by bad luck, or disease, or predation, when you think about what could have been. Also, just saying, the environment has to be in the right place between hostile and hospitable, lenient enough for the animal to survive for some time in its current state, but hostile enough for mutants to have a better chance of survival and passing on their genes. You can't just drop a squid into a desert and then come back millions of years later and expect to see a super squid that burrows under sand and things, because squids cannot survive in deserts. Now, ultimately, another thing that evolution is fueled by is the concept of niches. Effectively, if a niche is unoccupied and an animal can successfully mutate to fill it, then that niche will likely be filled. And this is actually where we begin to see some really cool things, specifically convergent evolution. Because of this, at the end of the day, we're all affected by the same basic laws of physics, and that means that certain mutations are going to be more effective than others. And with a planet spinning around for as long as ours, the same thing might happen twice. I mean, just one example that I can name off the top of my head is that of Suminia. Basically, you see this little fella? He's an anomodont, or a kind of therapsid. If you don't know those terms, think of therapsids as us. They include mammals, yes, but also make something of a transitionary phase between reptile-like ancestors and the modern mammals that make up our planet. And the really interesting thing about Suminia is that it was effectively a late Permian attempt at a monkey, and shared many of the traits that would be found in modern primates. Now, unfortunately, Semini's evolutionary lineage was cut short by the Great Dying, but it is the fact that evolution made what was effectively an early primate around 262 million years ago is what I find astounding. Primate-like traits have even evolved in non-mammals such as Kunganopterus, a pterosaur that spent a lot of time in trees presumably because it had opposable thumbs, which don't really tend to develop unless you are spending a lot of time in trees. Yeah, the thing that made humans kind of special has evolved independently, further establishing that evolution really is influenced by niches. Um, Even if different species have different solutions to the same problem, a similar solution is going to pop up every once in a while, and that's just to do with similar niches, environments that have had similar pressures in spite of being separated by millions of years. We haven't even talked about the laws of physics. You see, in non-terrestrial environments, such as the myriad bodies of water and oceans that exist throughout our planet, uh, certain body shapes are much more favorable than others. It's why, despite being separated by millions of years, dolphins and ichthyosaurs display a decent amount of convergence in their body plans and general shape, because both are tetrapods that have returned to the water. And as a result, simply living in the water, hydrodynamics have effectively forced them to adopt similar body plans, because simply by being affected by the same laws of physics, these animals are facing similar challenges. It's worth noting also that early whales displayed, like the Basilosaurus, displayed a remarkable level of convergence with mosasaurs, which makes sense because mosasaurs were also overall in the early stage of adapting to aquatic life, which also suggests that if they had stuck around, mosasaurs might eventually have become similar to whales in appearance, which, I don't know, I'd like to see someone explore that concept. Again, niches are responsible for a lot of this. Land crocs have evolved independently quite a few times throughout our planet's history, from the early Pseudosuchians to Barynosuchus in South America to Quincana here, and all as a result of those areas lacking the major predators and competition that other regions had to crocodiles. Pterosaurs and bats share a somewhat similar body plan, simply because they're both flying vertebrates. It Again, all of this is a result of niches and basic physical pressures, which is quite beautiful, to be honest. It shows that at the end of the day, we're all affected by the same things. You can't fight gravity after all, and even if you're going to come up with a different solution to the same problem at the end of the day, some body plans are more effective than others, and the most successful animals tend to fall into the effective category. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments which subject you want the next video to be on. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your day, peeps, and have a great one.
Okay, editing kit here, and two things that I want to say before I go. Firstly, two really excellent examples of convergent evolution that you can see today are the case of the tegu, which looks really similar to goannas because they fill a similar role. Tegus and goannas aren't closely related at all, by the way, and the case of the Australian magpie, which again is strikingly similar to corvids, despite them not being related. That's because they've all filled similar roles and similar selection pressures have caused similar mutations to undertake. Wow, I just said similar many times. Uh, yeah, just wanted to say that. Also, I find it really funny, the contrast between evolutionary history and what we choose to do with our time. Like, our lives are so short, so minuscule, and the product of early lobe-finned fish, living in low-oxygen bogs, spending some time on land, and eventually staying there after mutating enough, and their descendants suffering and changing for millions, not even millions, hundreds of millions of years. And what do we do with our lives? Well, stuff like this. Help! Help! Hey, give us a hand! Help me! Help me! Yes! Incoming! Hey, give us a hand! Help! Help! Hey, give us a hand!